Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Alex Hernandez of Noticias Univision Chicago. We share every weekday morning at 5 and 6. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, as an increasing number of migrants and asylum seekers are making their homes in Chicago, we look at what it actually means to be a sanctuary city. It's been 20 years since Governor George Ryan commuted the sentence for every death row inmate in Illinois. We talk about its lasting impact. Latino students are leaving CPS and heading to private parochial and charter schools. We explore why. Details on how low-income families can apply for scholarships to private schools.
Polar Adventure Days is a fun celebration of the winter.
And a Park District program wants you to come out for some snow much fun this winter. All that coming up. But our first story tonight, what makes a sanctuary city welcoming to migrants and asylum seekers? Joanna Hernandez says more right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by the support of these donors.
Chicago's history as a sanctuary city dates back to 1985, when then-Mayor Harold Washington issued an executive order prohibiting city employees from enforcing federal immigration laws. But since that time, the term sanctuary city and more recently welcoming city have evolved beyond law enforcement implications. As an increasing number of migrants and asylum seekers are making their homes in Chicago, the city's government and community organizations are grappling with what being a welcoming city means for all of its residents. Joining us now with more are Father Larry Doling, pastor of St. Agatha Church in Northdale, Nubia Willman, Chicago's Chief Engagement Officer, and Anna Solano, Community Intake Specialist at Airy House. Now, Father Doling, I want to start with you. Now, we know churches have a long history of becoming these sanctuaries for refugees and immigrants. How would you say the word sanctuary has evolved over the years for the Archdiocese?
I think overall, it's part of the mission of the church in general is to welcome everyone, and so there's a whole history of ethnic groups moving to Chicago over the hundreds of years now, and the church has always welcomed those groups, and in many cases founded parishes around those particular ethnic groups. Most recently, the influx of the men, women, and children seeking asylum. Again, the church is stepping up to respond, to support these individuals, these families who are trying to reestablish themselves. So it really is continuing a long tradition of the church, and really, the essence of our faith is to care for those who are struggling, and by doing so to share our gifts with them that empowers us as well.
Yeah, and Nubia, I want to ask you the same question. I've noticed welcoming city is also being used. Can you tell me how the structure has expanded over the years to offer more support? What does the administration believe it's obligating to do as a welcoming city?
Yes, absolutely. So throughout the past decades, we've used the term sanctuary city. Under Mayor Lightfoot's administration, we've really focused on using the word welcoming, and that's on purpose and for a reason. Often when we think about sanctuary, it's very much about protecting against the federal government, against ICE, and whatever iteration of that is in the years past. Welcoming is much more holistically facing. It's really about embracing people, making them feel welcomed. And so when we do that here in the city, it's not just about protection from ICE or the federal government. It's also about integration. It's also about celebration. So it's really important for us to use that word. And legally speaking, we do have a welcoming city ordinance that does have some specific metrics and things that we're supposed to abide by. But overall, our policy really is through the lens of being a welcoming entity as much as possible.
And Anna, Airy House works to provide services to immigrant families. Do you think Chicagoans embrace being a sanctuary city?
I do. On my birthday, the first buses came, and then we received a bunch of support from different groups, all walks of life. Our phone line at Erie was busy with neighbors that really just wanted to help and like Nubia said, be welcoming.
So this was very personal for you?
It was, yeah.
Okay, and as we know, there has been collaborations with the city and different groups to help the influx of asylum seekers who've been bused from Texas. I've had the chance to speak with some of them, and this is what one of the questions that keeps popping up. Listen to one person who didn't want to be named had to say.
Gustaría pues preguntarle que cómo haríamos para que nos ayudaran con el permiso de trabajo, qué es lo que más necesitamos para trabajar y así sacar a nuestras familias adelante.
And Nubia, I want to go to you. Is there any talks about temporary work permits? I mean, there's people who've mentioned they've had a hard time even connecting with any lawyers to even begin that immigration process.
Absolutely. Work permits and getting here to work, that's really most of the people's goals, and they want to be self-sustaining and want to be able to provide for themselves and their family. The federal government is in charge of providing work authorization to people, and so someone can only work if they have a valid work authorization. Unfortunately, we are not able to provide that. It's really dependent on the federal government to step up in this moment and provide the necessary resources. We continue to advocate for expedited work permits, for expanded humanitarian parole, and for other types of federal support so that folks are able to do what they want, which is work. And so we continue to do that, but at the same time, we have to work with the folks on the ground, and we absolutely work with our legal partners here to ensure that they're providing legal orientation and continue the discussion for more robust legal services so that folks can have individual intakes and eventual representation if they are eligible for some immigration remedy.
And Father Larry, what is your take on this? You've been a priest at St. Agatha Parish for 17 years now. What do you say to those people who come to your parish and ask you about how can they get a work permit? What do you tell them?
So I'm actually a minister, a pastor in the African American community, St. Agatha, St. Martin Porres. But we have a growing population of Latino people coming, joining us in the community. For those who have shown up, we typically try to make sure that they have the basic needs and then refer them to networks that can support them, like Catholic Charities and some of the city shelters to be able to do that. The work issue is as she said, is a major issue because inviting them or telling them where to go to get work is something that we really can't do. But many of them are actually going out on their own. They want to work. They want to start providing and building a new life for their families. So a lot of that is already happening.
What are those words of encouragement that you provide when they do come to you?
Mainly that they're not alone. Mainly that they have the support, and they have the support of the church community. Many of our parishioners, again, in the African American community, have been just welcome them and embrace them, and again, just assure them of the support. We always give them referrals. We always make sure that they connect with larger groups that are going to be supportive of a network for them to be able to support them on their journey of rebuilding their lives.
And Anna, you've been working with families. In your opinion, is the city and state doing enough in your perspective? Do you think that a work permit is a viable option?
I think that we're doing what we can, but like Nubia said, this is at the federal level, and unfortunately, the way that the law is written right now, from my perspective, people are stuck in a catch-22 type of situation where, to apply for a work permit or asylum, they need to pay these crazy fees, but they're not allowed to work. So it's kind of like a catch-22 situation, unfortunately.
And so far, we know there has been more than 3,000 migrants who have arrived in Chicago, not counting those who didn't arrive here on buses. So I want to go to you, to Father Larry. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the sponsorship program that the Archdiocese is working on? What is that vision to help those refugees? So
the coordination with Catholic Charities and the diocese is really focused on encouraging parishes that are near some of the city shelters, and I just want to affirm city shelters are doing a great job. Are trying to offer support, case management, and just basic resources to the families in those shelters. We're in the process of instituting a parish sponsorship program. Parishes that can sponsor a family, provide housing for them in local housing, pay for the housing basically for an initial 6 to 9 month period. A case manager is assigned from Catholic Charities, walks with the family, but also works with the committee within the parish to say, this is what this family needs, can you help finding it, and those sorts of things.
And when does that program begin? When is it expected to begin?
So we've already done some information sessions. We have about 50 parishes that are interested in immediately in doing that. Probably within the next 2 months, 3 months, we will be fully instituting that.
Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
Our thanks to Father Larry Darling, Nubia William, and Anna Solano. And now, Alex, back to you.
Joanna, thank you. Chicago Public Schools is working to combat declining enrollment and funding challenges. A significant number of low-income families of color are choosing to leave the district. In partnership with Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism, we explore why on our website, WTTW.com/news. Here's journalist and Northwestern professor Ava Thompson-Greenwell with a portion of that story, talking to a mother who shares why a move out of CPS and to DePaul College Prep is working for her daughter.
Chatton says smaller class sizes and supportive faculty at DePaul help her daughter thrive in a new environment.
There's a better teacher-student ratio where the teacher emails me and says, you know, she needs help in this, and that.
Chatton's story is part of a growing trend in CPS, a district with a majority Black and Latino population. Students are leaving their neighborhood schools, opting for private and charter schools located farther away. Between 2019 and 2022, CPS lost nearly 37,000 students, 10% of its total enrollment. 91% of those students were low income. According to CPS official Alfonso Carmona, multiple factors contribute to the drop in enrollment, such as dissatisfaction with high school options, declining birth rates, and families moving out of Chicago.
When it comes to making decisions about leaving CPS, some of the families are not necessarily leaving the city, they're leaving the district and going to whether private school, parochial schools, and also many of our families are going into charter schools.
You can actually see the full story produced in partnership with students at Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism on our website. Up next, years after Illinois' death sentence is lifted, the lasting impact and what's next in a conversation with Brandis Friedman. Stay with us.
Years ago, Illinois Republican Governor George Ryan commuted the sentences of 167 people on death row, changing their sentences from death to life behind bars. That drastic step led to the abolition of the death penalty in Illinois. And joining us now with more are Ronaldo Hudson, Director of Education at the Illinois Prison Project, and Alice Kim, Director of Human Rights Practice at the University of Chicago's Center for Human Rights. Thanks to you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Alice, let's start with you, please. You were active in the movement for abolishing the death penalty. And side note, you've known and worked with Ronaldo for decades now, and we're going to come back to his story in a second. But describe, if you would, the atmosphere at the time when then Governor Ryan made that decision to commute all of the death sentences.
Well, it was a historic moment. When Governor Ryan emptied death row, it was in response to a social movement on the ground, a massive campaign that was organized by lawyers, advocates, activists, and importantly, family members of people who were on death row and those who were on death row themselves. So this commutation did not happen in a vacuum. It was not a foregone conclusion that Governor Ryan would do this. And if you look back in Illinois' history and even the climate around the death penalty, it's really because of people who organized, mobilized, advocated, that you saw the support for the death penalty dissipate and decline.
Ronaldo, you were one of those 167 people who were on death row at the time. What did it mean to you?
It meant I had the opportunity for my humanity to be seen and not just the act that I committed. And so for me, when I think about this, it's heavy, you know, that not only do I wear the shame of my decisions of yesterday, I also wear the burden of reminding people, you know, that I'm better than my worst decision. You know, and trying to move people to see our humanity is in grace, not just punishment.
You were sentenced to death row in 1983 for murder. How would you describe the person you were at the time? Very young, you were 19 at the time. How would you describe that person with the person you are today?
In 1983, I was a male, black youth who was a sexually abused young man, who was a functioning illiterate, who couldn't spell apple, who attempted to hide from his shame and his hurt through drugs. I had been shot in the chest by my brother. I had been sexually assaulted by people that should be protecting me. And not to make excuses for my behavior, but I remind people of that simple thing when people say, when you're in school, algebra is something you'll never use. But what I've learned in my walk is that those variables and those exponents are the things that lead to the answer. And so it's not hard to get to where I landed. It's just, I think, a miracle that I landed where I am right now, and that I'm an example of the potential that we have. And there are thousands of people that are in prisons that are ready to be productive members of society. And I hope to continue to be an example of what that can look like.
So former Republican Governor George Ryan, he spoke with us back in 2020 about his decision. Here's a little bit of what he said.
There was a lot of people that were very close, that were innocent, that almost got executed. I didn't want to leave office saying that, seeing in the paper the next day that some fellow had been executed, that he was innocent, found innocent, but it was too late for him. So I said, the only thing that I can really do is commute all 167 of these people to prison for life.
Alice, what do you think is the lasting impact of Governor Ryan's clemency?
Well, I think that it did help pave the way, absolutely, to the abolition of the death penalty in Illinois. But I think that one thing that we have to keep in mind is that it actually left the criminal punishment system intact. So what we have is another insidious form of punishment, which is death by incarceration. I think when Ronaldo was speaking earlier about his own transformation, there's a danger to the stories that are told about people who are on death row. There's a danger that we only see them one-dimensionally for the crime for which they were convicted of, right? And I think that we need to be able to see people three-dimensionally as full human beings. And I think Ronaldo has been a voice that has given us an idea of what we're not seeing behind those prison walls.
To that point, Ronaldo, what do you want people to know about folks like yourself and the ones that you still work with?
Yeah, I want people to know that when you condemn someone, you're really condemning yourself. You're saying, in my humble opinion, that there is no possibility of this person being better than an act. And I'm saying that's just not true. That even, and not to get preachy, but beauty do come from ashes, and everything that we really benefit from comes from something that was stopped and was moving slow. But then once they begin to grow and hope, I'm excited to remind people that hope should be a human right and not just something that people think is all out of sight, so far away. Like, hope is sitting here and saying, hey, for all the thousands and thousands of men and women whose voices will be overshadowed by the screams of yesterday, right? Have to remember, but if you just be still, the potential, I still believe that death by incarceration is a horrible thing, right? And so I hope we can move to a place where we say everyone should get a chance to be better than their yesterday.
Alice, what's next? Where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? We need to reimagine the criminal punishment system. We need to think about what other, what Ronaldo often says is, we often talk about second chances, but we also need to think about the reality that many people who are incarcerated never had a first chance. So we need to address, how do we become a society that actually gives people first chances? We need to look to efforts to reverse truth in sentencing. We need to abolish life without parole. There's so much that we can be doing. But one thing I will say is that all of our lawmakers, all of our policymakers, all of us who are voters, all of us really need to get ourselves inside prisons to meet the people who our society is incarcerating, to be able to see people fully in all of their dimensions, in all of their humanity, and base how we want to, what our criminal justice system would look like based on that.
Yeah. Can I add to that really quickly? Because, really quickly, that is it. Until people stop fear-mongering and show that people can be better, we shouldn't be chased and acting out of fear, but out of love.
Okay. That's where we'll have to leave it. A conversation that can go on, I'm sure, because there are a lot of arguments to be had. But Alice Kim, Ronaldo Hudson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so very much.
And we're back with more Chicago Tonight Latino Voices right after this.
For families facing sudden financial difficulties, private school tuition might become a low priority for stretched budgets. But there's help out there. The Illinois Tax Credit Scholarships Program offers tuition assistance for families who meet income thresholds. Father Brendan Curran of the Resurrection Project explains more about the program and how to apply.
The Illinois Tax Credit Scholarship is a program that is in its final year of a pilot on behalf of the state to offer opportunities for families who are working families who are struggling financially and have access to opportunity for scholarship support for a private school in any part of the state of Illinois. Private school, meaning Christian, Catholic, Lutheran, Muslim, Jewish, and any non-public school. Families who are eligible are families who first in the last year of filing their tax returns are below a threshold of, for example, a family of four, a threshold about in the $80,000 income range as a family of four would be the ceiling, and then everywhere below that. And that's the key number one reason, because this program was intentionally set up for access for families who don't have the financial means to have the option they prefer to attend or continue. Most of them are really, the vast majority, are families who want to continue and survive in the school they're already in. This is not a merit-based scholarship. That's one of the unique and helpful pieces to this. Not every student, in fact, very few students are straight A's with those high merit academic level achievements. And many scholarships, the few that there are, often are focused in that direction. This is about all of the rest of us, ordinary folks trying to make ends meet and make accomplishments and dreams achieved. Try to apply for this scholarship. It's free. It's simply for giving access for more equity in our system across economic systems.
Well, like you just heard right there, it's free to apply for these scholarships, but they are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. You'll find more on those deadlines and eligibility on our website. Up next, ways to have fun outside during the winter. Stay with us. If you're finding it tough to leave the house on these gray and chilly days, well, the Park District wants to give you a little motivation on two upcoming Saturdays, January 21st and February 25th. You can bundle up and enjoy some winter fun at Northerly Island.
Polar Adventure Days is a fun celebration of the winter. I think a lot of people like it because really it's one of the only outdoor celebrations of winter we have during a time of year when we're usually hunkering away indoors somewhere. We have a lot of fun activities. Free Spirit Siberian Husky Rescue that will come here to do sled dog demonstrations. They'll be on the trail behind me over here, running those sled dogs back and forth. We'll have Flint Creek Wildlife Rescue here with raptors, which are birds of prey, and other birds here to show people what kind of bird wildlife exists around Chicago. Jabberwocky Marionettes does a fantastic performance every year, and they will be back. We have storytelling around a bonfire. We have some arts and crafts with bird feeder making, not to mention hot cocoa.
You can actually find more on Polar Adventure Days on our website. Well, that's going to be our show for this weekend. Be sure to visit WTTW.com/news for the very latest from WTTW News. And if you're watching us on Saturday night, know that you can also catch Latino Voices and Black Voices on Sundays beginning at 10 p.m. Don't forget also to tune into Noticias Univision Chicago every weekday morning. I'll be waiting for you. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, I'm Alex Hernandez. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud to be a multilingual law firm that provides translators for a variety of languages.